India revived this science. So a book was written in 15th century by the person who happens to be the king of Mewar, named as Rana Kumbha. Rana Kumbha in his book has tried to revive. How to revive? Old things which were forgotten were again rewritten and again presented in front of the people. Read it and try to follow it. According to the traditional belief in Vastu Shastra, construction, how the construction started. Who started first construction? So it is Vishwakarma was the first architect of gods. So previously when no humans were there, it was only gods who were present. They had made a certain provision for their staying, and Vishwakarma was the architect for God. That means he was creating certain things for the God. So Vishwakarma is considered as the first architect. He divided Vastu Shastra into 8 sections. Previously we have talked about 3 sections. One was Tantra, Hora and Samhita, and this was supposed to be made by Brahmini. Here we are talking about, according to Vishwakarma, he divided the Vastu Shastra into 8 sections. Various informations of Vastu Shastra like selection of place, shapes, structure, proper planning of things, temple, Brahmastan, where the big main sculpture of god or goddess is going to be kept, that which locations need to be placed. Ghar mein, where in which direction the bedroom should be, where in direction should the kitchen should be, where the entrance should be entering, where should the exit should be, where water tank need to be placed, where the toilet should be. Everything is talked about in this in detail, and reason is also given. It is going to benefit you in this manner or this manner. Certain plants need to be planted in home, certain are not to be planted. So even planting of the plants, the directions, everything is talked about in Vastu Shastra. And now it is being adopted by the foreigners. We send across those learned men to the foreign countries so that they can benefit, and those people happens to come down to India to learn about Vastu Shastra so that it can be beneficial for them. And this brings to the end of this particular chapter. So starting with where we had left the other day, we are talking about as mathematics. The last 2 topics which we had covered was of science of medicines and surgeries and chemistry. Those were again those points where a 4 marks questions probability seen. Mathematics again is going to give you a 4 marks questions probability from this chapter. What we are going to learn this particular topic is how with the passage of time there were certain inventions and discoveries which were buried deep down. We never came to know that actually it was done or made in India. But now that we have seen it happening, we want to revive it. We want to make ourselves feel proud that actually this work was carried out in India only. See, gravity. The work associated with gravity is some Europeans. What we want you to understand that gravity was discovered prior to Europeans in India. There are certain phenomena which we associate with certain specific persons, and we want to tell you that actually that thing was already present in India when the so-called discoveries took place. They were already present. But we had left it aside. We were not knowing about it. Deliberately we had moved ahead. That is what the point is. So in mathematics, we can talk about many epoch making. When I say epoch, it means those which actually change the course of history. Those which are happening for the very first time. So epoch making. Mathematical discoveries were considered to have been made in India. And how we can say so? because certain things which happen in India, certain discoveries which happened in India, or certain inventions which took in India, those were the pioneers in their contemporary period. When I say contemporary, means same period. Let us say I am talking about that today I invented something. Today we are talking about 2021. So in 2021 we did certain things. But that is considered to be much more ahead of the time than the rest of the so-called scientists. Imagine I am a scientist, then the so-called scientists, they were not even imagining I could do it. They haven't imagined about the same topic, but I did and created certain things. So contemporary means of the same period. Rest of the world was also having civilization. In first and second chapter, I did made you realize about that Indian civilization, that is also called as the Harappan civilization. Simultaneously, within that same period, civilization was also flourishing in China. We call it as Chinese civilization. We saw that civilization was also present in Mediterranean Sea, Greek civilizations. We learned about that civilization was also present in Iraq. That time it was called as Mesopotamia, old name of it. So we call it as Mesopotamian civilization. We talk about Egypt, Egyptian civilization. So these all happened in the same time period. When I say same time period, plus minus 200, 300 years. That's all. But within the same. And still, we, that is the Indians, were able to carry out certain activities which the people of the same age group were not able to do. Hopefully you understand what I am telling you. Egyptians were not able to do it. There is no record about it. Perhaps they might have done it, but we don't have any record. The Chinese never did it, or we don't have the record. But we have a record that Indians did at that particular time. There are certain books still preserved. And this is what we are going to learn about. The gift of India to the world are, in the field of mathematics, zero. So had Indians not been there, perhaps the word discovery of the zero would have taken another 400-500 years, 1,000 years later. It would have been happened, but not that time. It would have been a little prolonged discovery. 500 years, 300 years, 100 years, 50 years, whatever it is, but definitely we were the one who gave the zero to the world. Decimal system. We use it every day. It was again given by Indians to the world. We talk about algebra, the theorems of Bodleian, geometry, arithmetics. These all certain things have been discovered either or invented by the people of India at that time. There is a mention about certain scientists, or at that time they were not called as scientists, they were sages, sadhu, sant. Here we have is Aryabhat. So Aryabhat, he has a discovered zero, and the process of writing zero after figures were discovered by the sage named as Grut Samar. So one has discovered zero, and other was telling how to write numbers afterwards. So it's a combination. One is working on one platform and another is taking this platform to the next level. I have discovered zero, another scientist is coming out there, another sage is coming out there and telling you how to use decimals into it. Another is coming telling you how to add numbers to it. You know, tens, twenties, hundreds, thousands, 10,000s, lakh, crore, 10 crore. So how are you adding up those things? It was prescribed by a person called as Grut Samar. The ancient Indian mathematicians have decided the names of the numbers made up by placing 53 zeros. Usually, on an average, in a day-to-day basis, we remember all the way zeros numbered by 8, 9 zeros. You know, 1 crore, 2 crores, 10 crores, 100 crores, and after that, we tends to be forgetting about what exactly would it be called as. But at that time, those people whom we call as the backward people, you know, ancient civilization, they had a unique thing done. They were talking about certain figures wherein to a maximum of 53 zeros were used and the names were also given to it. Just like what we call as tens, hundreds, thousands, 10,000. So they were having certain specific names given to those numbers having how many? 53 zeros attached to it. Decimal system has been found on the measuring and weighing scale. Now this is again very unique. We are talking about Harappan civilization, which happens to be 4,500 to 5,000 years back. So 4,500 years back, we saw that there was a measuring scale in which decimals were used. 1.01, 1.02, 1.03. This is how the numbering was there on the weighing scale. Now weighing scale, it is what obvious you can understand. Certain precious things were used to weight it. Now what could be that precious things? It can be the gold, it can be food, it can be anything. Just like what we use nowadays, those decimal systems weighing machines in the jeweler's shop. While you are purchasing the diamonds or you are purchasing the gold or silver, you have got coming to the lowest possible measurement possible. So you can do the calculations of what you are purchasing or selling. So that machines, now we are using electronic ones. That was manual. So decimal system was used, but it was manual, how to do the calculations. And the name given to it is Medaditi. Please underline that particular thing. It has been acknowledged by Medaditi during ancient time. Another person's name is there, Bhaskaracharya. He has written a book. Two books' name are there. One is Leelavati Ganit, another one is Bij Ganit, and both the books have been traced down to have been written in 1150 AD. Approximately 1100 years back, these books had been written. Discovered the sign of addition subtraction. So within these books, we have got the mention about how the symbols to be used, what are the principles to use, where additions can be used, where subtraction sign has to be used. Nowadays we know it. Plus numbers, you are going to have a plus number. A plus minus, you will be having a minus number. So these particular rules, regulations which we follow now, perhaps were talked about in some another manner in those particular books, like Leelavati Ganit and Bij Ganit. Brahmagupta, another person's name is out there. He introduced the types of equations. Bodhayan, another person, he discovered theorems, that is the triangle policy. Apstam, another person's name is there. Apstam is one of the sages who was working in the field of mathematics, decided the measurement of sacrificial pits. Now there are certain times when we have got the yagna being carried out, and we need to burn the fire, certain things, fire has to be lit up. That sacrificial pit, how much big it should be, depending upon which type of yagna you are doing. You are entering the house, again you have some yagna being carried out, someone's death has happened, yagna is carried out, someone's birth has taken place, again yagna is carried out. You are attacking someone, going for a war, then again a yagna is to be carried out. You have returned from the war, again yagna. See, I'm talking about so many possibilities where yagna can be carried out. So he had mentioned about which type of pits, what should be the length and the breadth of those pits where the sacrificial things can be offered. Yagya in Shulva Sutra. So all this information is coming in a book, and the name of the book is Shulva Sutra. And very strange, this book was written 1800 before Christ. Now when I say before Christ, we are living in the 21st century. So 2100 you have to go back, and then you have to go back 1800 years back. So 4500, 4200 years is approximate time when this book was written. Aryabhat has mentioned the value of pi, which comes out to be 3.14 or 22 by 7, and he has told that it is going to remain constant, and with the help of pi you can have the ratio of circumference and the diameter of the circle taken out. We are using it every day nowadays whenever you are doing the mathematics. calculations are there, but he was that particular person who had given us the value of pi. Multiplication, addition, subtraction, square root, cube root, Ashtang method introduced by Aryabhat. His work in Aryabhatyam is known as, for that reason, as the father of mathematics. See, he has done so many work that in India we have assigned a name to him. We call Aryabhat as father of mathematics. Moreover, he has written other books like, so there are other books mentioned, Dashgitika, underline it, Aryabhatyam, another book just now I have talked about, described the main principle of astronomy in short book as Arya Siddhant. So he was not only dealing with normal calculations, he was also dealing into the calculations of planetary movement. And movement of planets is going to be referred in the subject called as astronomy. Celestial body, how they are moving, from which direction to where. All information was given in the book written by Aryabhat. Book name is Arya Siddhant. He found the solution of the fundamental of mathematics, that is arithmetics and geometry. So let us sum it up. We have got certain few names who have really done some fabulous work in the field of mathematics. Scholars like Bodhayan, Apstam, Katayan, Bhaskaracharya and Brahmagupta. These are certain names which are specially mentioned. Others have done it, but these have gone beyond that class. Other sciences. Now what other sciences we have got is, from here we have got is those objective type of questions being used. Here we have the name of the books based on science and the author's name given. So you need to basically go through them and remember for your objective type questions. First one is Prajanan Shastra, written by Brahmbharvya Panchal. We have got Chikitsa Sangrah, written by Chakra Pandita. Kam Sutra Vatsayan, Vriksha Ayurved, Maharshi Parashar, Yog Shastra, Maharshi Patanjali, Yantra Sarvasva, Maharshi Bhardwaj, and Kalgat Janana. It is Shakmuni. The topic next coming out there is astronomy and astrology. Both are going to get correlated. And when you talk about astronomy, we are talking about the studies of celestial objects, celestial bodies, how they are going to move. That is astronomy. And how these movement of celestial bodies is going to affect me as an individual or affect us as a group, that is astrology. So two things, and both are going to be related with mathematics. Reason? You must be knowing where the planet is at present and where the planet would be. That is in future we're talking about. So you must be knowing about the speed, angular momentums, how much a degree variation is going to take place. So it's all about calculation in mathematics. And when we talk about these calculations, then we are trying to assume how these planets or stars or moons are going to affect my life. Both combinations are going to be seen and very much indigenous to Indian civilization. We had been following both these things since ages. Astronomy, most ancient science, many work, that is Granth. When you talk about Granth, it is the gist, crux, related to astronomy had been written in India. Planets and their movements, constellations, various stars which are present in the galaxy, and other celestial objects are used for calculation through which astrology and astronomy were developed remarkably. So, as I have told you, this is what is being written in your book. We are doing some calculations and trying to predict the effects of those celestial bodies over us, how it is going to affect me. Predictions. You're trying to guess what is going to happen. And usually, when we talk about the predictions which are based upon calculations, they seems to be right. It is not about something what we call as God. Fake देना, लंबी calculation करनी है. When we do calculations, you will come to know about what really is going to happen and why and how. Because it's all pure calculations. If you know the calculations, you will come to the derivations. And derivation is how they are going to affect me, depending upon the last effect was seen on human civilization. How we do it? Last time, when there was the moon at this angle, the sun at this angle, Jupiter at this angle, we saw an earthquake. Last time to last time when I talk about, same thing happened, and perhaps this time also we might get it. This is how we do the calculation. But then we have to be very much precise that the location of the moon, the sun and Jupiter has to be at that specific place only. Then those things, calculations can come place. So it's pure calculations. Aryabhat made a remarkable contribution in the field of astronomy. So the first Indian satellite, Aryabhat, which was launched in 1916, was named as Aryabhat. First satellite, Indian satellite, was given the name Aryabhat. He declared that the earth rotates on its own axis. Something which came in European and American civilizations quite later on, but was given by Aryabhat that earth is rotating on its own axis. It's a unique thing. And he proved that the basic reason for lunar eclipse, Chandragrahan, is the shadow of earth which was addressed as underlined Ajrabar. Now, understanding how the lunar eclipse is happening, you must be knowing how the planets are moving. You must be knowing that the sun is at the center, it is not moving, but instead the planets which are revolving around it, and the moon is revolving around earth. So he had made those calculations, and then only he came to know that what is basically what referred as Ajravahar is lunar eclipse. So he had studied it, and after studying he came to those conclusions. Brahmagupta popularized law of gravity in his book Brahad Samhita. So long before, when again I'm talking about someone else gave us what is the value of G. We were not given the value of G, but we were told that there is a force which is actually pulling you towards earth. Why don't you simply float? So this was given in Brahma Siddhanta. Brahmin, underline the name, great astrologer. He had divided the astrology into 3 sections. Underline those 3 sections. We have got his Tantra, Hora and Samhita. His Granth, his book, named as Brihad Samhita, given information regarding effects of planet on man's future, his characteristics, various classes of animals, the time of marriages, ponds, wells, gardens, good omen for sowing, Shubh Muhurat, when we should sow, when we should harvest, good things. How we are going to calculate, it was all written by a book by Brahmihir, and the book name was Brihad Samhita. Vastu Shastra, the art of construction. There is an immense contribution of ancient India in the field of Vastu Shastra, inseparable part of astrology. Construction being carried out along with astrology. And what is astrology? We have just talked about effects of the planetary movement on us. So depending upon how the planet is going to affect me, how the construction should be carried out. When I am using the word construction, it is a general word for everything. Construction of homes, construction of forts, construction of the temples, construction of roads, canals, bridges, anything which is going to be man-made. where it should be, how it should be, when it should be. All those are going to be based upon a single person who is the owner, how the planets are working for him, and how he should have the effects of those planets used for a betterment of their life. Brahad, Narad, Brahaspati, Bhrigu, Vashisht, and Vishwakarma. So these are certain names. Remember all those, underline them. They have made unique contribution in the field of Vastu Shastra. These are the ones who had actually propagated, told us about the dwelling, temple, as I was talking about, palaces, Ashwashala, where the horses were used, supposed to be kept, temples, forts, storehouses of ammunition, town planning. There is a book mentioned as Brihad Samhita, which was written by Rana Kumbha. Underline this particular person's name, happens to be from Rajasthan, Mewar.